The day I became an ant. I used to be a boy named Eli. It's funny, really, how things can change so quickly. One moment, I was just like you, running around the yard, picking up bugs and playing with them. I'd find slugs, cicadas, and ants, anything that seemed small enough to hold in my hands. And I'd spend hours watching them wriggle and squirm. I didn't think much of it. To me, they were just little creatures, too small to matter. But one night, after a long day of playing with the bugs in the garden, something strange happened. I went to bed, tired and happy. I must have fallen asleep right away, and when I woke up, everything was different. I wasn't Eli anymore. I was an ant. At first, I didn't understand what had happened. I looked around and saw the world in a way I'd never seen it before. The grass was taller than I was. The dirt felt cold beneath my tiny body. I tried to stand up, but I was so small. I couldn't even see the whole world anymore. Everything was enormous. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just a little small. I was the size of a tiny, helpless creature. A creature I used to pick up and play with back when I was Eli. And now, I was one of them. For the first time, I truly understood what it was like to be small. I tried to crawl through the grass, but it felt like a maze. Every breeze seemed like a storm, and the shadow of a passing bird sent shivers through me. The world was so much bigger, and I was so tiny. I realized just how fragile life could be when you're this small. One wrong move and I could be crushed or swept away. I had never truly understood this before, but now, as an ant, I saw how easily I could be destroyed. I had taken the lives of those little creatures for granted, never considering how vulnerable they were. The world felt so much scarier when I was small. I wandered deeper into the colony, hoping to find someone who could explain what was going on. As I moved through the dirt tunnels, I saw ants marching together, each carrying something tiny, crumbs of food, bits of leaves. I tried to help by picking up a small piece of leaf, but I couldn't even carry it for a few steps. Every ant had a purpose: to build, to protect, to feed, and to care for the young. They were so busy, moving together in unison, I had never realized how much effort it took to keep the colony alive. As I watched them, I understood something new. It wasn't about size, it was about purpose. Every ant, no matter how small, had an important job. They worked together, relying on each other. Suddenly, a shadow loomed overhead, and I froze. A child, much like I had been, bent down and extended his hand. Before I could run, I felt his fingers close around me. It was the same feeling I used to give the bugs I picked up. Something so much bigger than me, holding me, unaware of how fragile I was. The world tilted, and I felt trapped. I couldn't escape. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was wait. Then, as quickly as it had begun, I was released. I scurried away, trembling. For the first time, I understood what it had been like for the creatures I had played with. They weren't toys. They were living beings with their own fears, and I had never understood that until now. I scurried away from the child. I met an older ant, a wise one, who explained how the ants protect their queen and the colony. "You are important," the wise ant told me. "It doesn't matter how small you are. What matters is what you do with the life you've been given." That's when it hit me. I had been wrong. I had thought I was the one who was important, simply because I was big and could control the little creatures around me. But now, as an ant, I knew that every creature, no matter its size, has a role to play. One day, while I was gathering food with the other ants, I looked up and saw something familiar. A boy, much like I used to be. He was crouched down, holding a cicada in his hands. I watched him for a moment, and for the first time, I understood the cicada's fear. It wasn't just a game. For the cicada, it was life or death. I wanted to shout, to warn him, to to tell him that the cicada wasn't a toy. But it couldn't. I was just an ant. Then, as suddenly as it had all begun, everything changed again. I woke up back in my own bed, a human once more. The world around me felt different. I looked out the window at the ants marching across the ground, and I knew exactly what it was like to be small. I never picked up bugs the same way again. Instead, I watched them from a distance, appreciating how they moved, how they lived, and how they had their own purpose. Just like me. Now I understand something I didn't before. Every living thing has value, no matter how small. We all have a role to play in the world. Whether we are ants or humans, cicadas or slugs, we are all part of something bigger, and we all deserve respect and care. So be gentle with the little things around you. Every creature, big or small, deserves respect. And remember, you matter too. The world needs people like you who care about the lives of others, no matter how tiny they may seem. The end.